HaRuachEliyahu'sChannel on HaRuachEliyahu'sChannel on YouTube, and we appreciate you coming on or watching by DVD or watching by listening to CD, or watching my stream. If you're looking at this particular teaching, we're going to be teaching on Moshe changed his name. Moshe changed his name. Moses changed the name of Hosea to Joshua, but Hoshua to Yahushua. So we're going to look at this particular teaching, and we're going to go to, actually right now in the beginning, we're going to go to the book of Luke. We're not going to go in detail, but we're going to look at Luke chapter 1, verse 31. Luke chapter 1, verse 31. And as we look at this, as you look at my screen, I'm using eSword, so if you are familiar with them, it's great. If you're not, I advise you to get it. It's a great application to use. And let me adjust the screen here for the people that are here live today, so they can see it. And we're going to look at Luke 1:31, and as we look at this verse, and we're not going to use all the verses, I'm just going to show you where they're at. On 131, it says here, "And behold, you shall conceive in your womb, and bring forth a son, and shall call his name," and they put capital J-E-S-U-S. On my King Iesus, or King James Version, it has a star. And then it goes into the center of the star of the Thomas Chain Reference, King James. And in the star, it would say the proper Hebrew name, Joshua. Okay? And then it would have another link to the bottom footnotes, and it would say Hebrew pronunciation, Yahushua, and then it would give a Hebrew number 3091. So it would first say J-man, and then from the J, and J-man has 2424 in the Greek, as you see here in this pictorial on your screen. And if you look at this in 2424, as you look at this, you'll see that it says iesus. Now we know that's not his Hebrew name, and that was a name that was added on and matured. It started to mature, evolution, if you want to call it. And I don't believe in evolution, especially in the Hebraic language of this form. But it says here, it used to have no I, and it used to have an E, and it was a shorter. It was just to go to iesus, and then it would be hisu. And as you see, the spelling of the syllables is iesus. Okay? And of course, they put the J-man, the J later on. The Jesuit priest had a great great task on that, colonizing everywhere and changing it to the J-man. Okay, so now it says of Hebrew origin 3091, as you see on the screen, and he said that is Joshua. Now you notice the spelling is different than the English version that we have normally in our scriptures. Now, if you take rid of the Y, you take care of the J and eliminate it, because it's not older than 1500, and it's not printed until 1700, it would be Yahushua, the name of the master and two other Israelites. There's actually more in shorter versions of different people, but this is the one we're looking at, the long spelling, because it's made up of Yah and then Oshua. We're not talking about Yahu and then Shua. We're talking about Yah and then Oshua. Two words. And we're going to look at the difference in it. So it says that the root word is 3091. Okay? If you look at also, and we go to Luke chapter 2, this is the messenger giving the name. This is the first time. They put the name in the writing, but it's always 2424 in the Greek. Just kind of remember that. It's easy to remember. And it means 3091 in the Hebrew, and it was Joshua. But you get rid of the Y, the J, and you got the Y, Yahushua. The next one is Luke 1:21. As you look in Luke 21, the first one was the messenger giving the name. The second one is Luke 2:21, and when the 8 days was accomplished for the circumcision of the child, his name, his Shem, his name was called. They got the capital J-E-S-U-S again. They try to emphasize it. It's not really that way in the Greek. It's just the normal writing. But they did that in King Iesus. But if you look at it, it's still the same. And the Greek would be iesus, which we know that's not his name. His name was, he was dedicated in the synagogue with mitzvah, or should I say, his bar, when he was circumcised, excuse me. And when he was circumcised, it's a great ceremony. I watched this in Jerusalem myself. And you can go, a lot of people go to the Jerusalem and they go to the court or the wall, and they never look to the back, and there's a place there where they feed people if you want to eat for free. Okay? They have 1 meal a day, sometimes I think 2, but 1 meal a day. And then right next to it is the circumcision synagogue, where you can actually they bring their children, and there's no women inside, it's only rabbis and men. And the father with the diapers, okay? And they actually circumcise him while he's crying. They dedicate, the men all swirl and dance. It's a joyful thing because he just went through the blood ritual, or should the crossing over the blood, like we need the blood atonement to be saved, but that's the blood atonement or the blood promise of Abraham, okay? So it's a great thing to witness and see. But here it says 24:24, the root source again, 3091 on Luke 2:21. Luke is 2:21, and it is Joshua or Yahushua. Okay? Now if you go to Matthew, and you look at Matthew 1:21, it says, wow, what a coincidence. It's still, there's 21 on these with his name for coming in the picture of the first scene. And he says here in Matthew 1:21, and she shall bring forth a son, and you shall call his name J-E-S-U-S, and he shall save his people from their sins. And in verse 23, behold, a virgin shall be with child, the Nabi'im, the Nabi fulfillment, and you shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, meaning El, the mighty one with us, Yah with us, okay, Yah is with us, Emmanuel. And so this is another name also described several times. The messenger appears to Miriam and gives her the name. The messenger appears to Yosef and gives him the name. And both he repeats Emmanuel and Yahushua. You got that? So this is not some parent making up a name and deciding to change the name. This is the name that was given by the messenger from the face of Yahuwah. They say it's Gabriel because of the first incidents in Lucas. Okay? So now look at verse 25. In verse 25 it says, and it's not going long enough, but he said, and you heard not till she had brought forth her son, and he called his name, again, the J in capital letters. They emphasize it with capital letters J-E-S-U-S, but we know it's 24:24 with the root source of 3090. So what we're going to do is we're going to find out where 3090 is in the Hebrew, because it is, the 3090 is a word that was created or brought together, okay, from two words. And 3091, 3091. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the book of Numbers. Exodus, Shimon. Exodus chapter 33, verse 11. Okay? Exodus chapter 33, verse 11, and then, excuse me while you give me time to catch up with you while I'm doing this. 33, verse 11. Okay? I'm pulling up on the screen so you can see it. as well. All right? So now, it said, it is written here in verse 11. And thus Yahuwah spoke to Moshe face to face as a man speaks to his friend. And he would return to the camp, but his servant Yahushua, son of Nun, a young man, did not leave the tent. Now this is a certain tent, but I'm not gonna. It's called the tent of appointment in verse 7. This is a tent that was put outside the camp where a lot of people don't teach it. I'm not going to teach it today, but it's a great teaching of understanding. It's a place where they went to meet the Creator, the Ruach, and got information, instruction. It wasn't the Ark. It wasn't the Ark of the Covenant. It's a separate room. It's a booth, and it's a futuristic of what we're looking at, like when we do Sukkot. We do the tabernacles, and we tabernacle with Him. And the only people that would go in there was Yahushua and Moshe. And Yahushua would stay there a lot and cater, and Moshe would go out to the people. And sometimes he'd hang out all day. So you see how it's the symbolicness of the Messiah catering to the Father and being with the Father. Okay? All the time. And he won't do nothing unless the Father shows him what to do. He won't say nothing unless the Father tells him what to say. He repeats what he says. He goes and prays in the mountain ahead of time, intercedes before the morning break and go from the Mount of Olives, and then he would go out and minister wherever he was at. What I visualized when the Messiah was doing this, just like even Joshua here from Moshe, was that the Messiah would get downloaded with the information of the day. When he met the woman at the well, when he meets somebody with leprosy, when he meets somebody with epileptic seizures or demons, he saw them earlier that day in prayer. Okay? Now let me tell you where I get that from. I get that from my own experience. Where at times I'll be in prayer in the morning, the Father says there's going to be a lady come in here with a red dress. She's going to have this on. She's going to look like this, and she has a tumor that's in elementary stages, but she knows it. She just got a report from the doctor, and you're going to speak to her. You're not going to lay hands on her, or you're going to lay hands to her, or you're just going to tap her with oil and walk away, and you're going to speak my name, and I will heal her. He would show me in advance of what's going to happen in the day. And then later on that day, there's going to be a little boy, and later on that time, I've had the Father done this to me repeatedly, show me, and I'm praying, and sometimes I would literally, at first I would put it off. I would try to ignore it, continue with my prayers. And they would keep downloading, and I would I rebuke that. What's that? At first, until I realized I can't rebuke the Ruach, but the Ruach was giving me information for the day. And the Father showed me this is what the Messiah did. And he's praying in the morning, he's downloading everything. So when the Messiah ministered to people in the synagogue on Shabbat, because most of the miracles, 90% of the miracles were on Shabbat, during a synagogue service or after when they're gathering together, he already was prepared. He didn't have to pray. The Messiah didn't say, well, okay, let me lay hands on you and let me pray to Shem or let me pray to Yahuwah. No, he just come out, be healed, pick up your bed, walk, because he already prayed it up in the morning. It was already prepared and showed them what to do. So it was easy. It was rest. It's not even work. You know what I mean? It's no sweat when you just come out of her and walk away, and it says in that hour the demon left her. You know what I mean? There's no work about it. So, and I don't know why I shared that a little bit, but just to describe. Here's Joshua, Yahushua, in the tent of tabernacle. And he is the son of Nun. Correct? Witness? Do I get a witness here? He's the son of Nun. Now let's go to Deuteronomy or Devarim, and we're going to look at chapter 32, verse 44. 32:44, and it says, then Moshe came with Hoshua, or Hosea, son of Nun. Who's that? Same guy, right? But if you're reading King Amos, you wonder, well, what's going on here? Because in another book, earlier than that, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Number, Deuteronomy, his name was Joshua, but all of a sudden it's Hoshua, son of Nun, and spoke all the words of the song in the hearing of the people. Okay? So he's the son of Nun. Now I can go through so many other scriptures and show you who he is, and we are going to do a little bit of it. So now, as you look at this, I'm going to go back to, you don't have to turn to it. Excuse me, you can look at the screen. On the first one we did on Exodus 33:11, as you look on the screen, you'll see Joshua and King Amos. But what does it say here? Does it say Joshua? No. It pronounces his name. It's made up of two different words, 3068 in Hebrew, which is Yahuwah or Yehovah in this is Ashkenazi King James style, and 3467. It's a bridge of that. Or Joshua, which is Hosea, which is 1954, a good year to be around. All right? And 3442. All right? So now, the name Yahushua is made of two words. Yahoshua. Not Shua. Hoshua. Joshua or Hosea. We say in English. Excuse me, English. That's one for people that don't know the Hebrew expressions. And Hosea's name, Hoshua's name, with H-O or O, is 1954 in Hebrew. All right? And it means deliver, kinsman deliver. I did research, and we're going to look at it a little bit today. Okay? Now look at the spelling. If you don't have a J, it would be a Y, and it will be Yahushua. The problem is it's printed in English. When if I go into Hebrew, it would be Yeh or Yah, which means here it says Yahuwah saved. But the problem is Hosea's last name, Hoshua, 1954, does not mean a salvation just saved. It means a kinsman redeemer paying your penalty to get you out of debt. He's your redeemer. Okay? He's paying the debt out for you. How many need some redemption of our debt paid today? All right? He's our Messiah that does that. He doesn't just save you. He's your kinsman redeemer, paying the debt, taking off the shoe, and paying your debt. You know, they're going through a whole ceremony among the elders. Now look at the pronunciation, how it's written here with the syllables. Yahushua. They would say Joshua, Joshua. These are both legal ways to say it. These two Hebrew ways of writing it are both legal ways to say our Messiah's name or Joshua's name. Now, that was not his name all the time, as we know and we can see in comparison. I'm not going to go to Deuteronomy 32:44 because it's exactly the same. 3091 made up of 3068 and also not just 3068 but also 1954. Okay? So we're going to go now to Numbers 13:8. Numbers 13:8. And we're going to find out how did he get that name. All right? Let's find out. It's got to be word for word. It's got to be spoken or it's a different person. Hosea, Joshua. Okay? Let's find out from that. Numbers 13:8. It's for the people on the screen. And it says here in Numbers, Dibri ha-yamin aleph. Well, that's in Chronicles. We're gonna go to Numbers first. It says in verse 8, of the tribe of Ephraim, Hosea, no H. What is the number? 1954. Okay? 1954. They put an H or an O, depending on the writing of the scribe. So it's Hosea, it's not Shua, it's Hosea, and you can see the Hebrew word here, you can see the syllables, the breakdown of the syllables, okay? It's got an H, even though there's an O here in 1954. It's Hosea, Hoshea. We used to say Hosanna. Hosanna. There's a mixture there of understanding. And what does it say? 34:67, it means deliver. He's our deliverer type of Savior. So what I did is I did some deep research, but I'm not going to show you on this video. Is 34, when you go into the root of 1954 and 34:67, you go in the lexicon, you dig in the Hebrew understanding of it, the salvation is in the form of a deliverer as a kinsman redeemer. You got that? He's your kinsman. He saved you from being in bondage and slavery of sin. He's your kinsman redeemer. He comes with the shoe and he's buying you back. He's clearing your debt and setting you free. Okay? So you have the freedom to worship him. Not to be in bondage, but the freedom to worship him. All right, so now let's look at verse 16. He's the son of none. Look at verse 16. These are the names of the men which Moshe sent to spy out the land, and Moshe called who? Hosea, 1954, the son of Nun. Who? Yeshua. He changed his name. That's why there's certain places that the name is Hosea and the certain name is Joshua. Okay, if I'm speaking in English, in Hebrew it would be Oshua, Oshua, or Yahushua. Now look at, he changed his name from 1954, one word, which was deliverer of the kinsman redeemers. He saved you and he delivered you. Okay? And he added Yah, or they put Y-E-H, the scribes, to protect themselves from saying the sacred name or the set apart name, the 3050. But you're going to see something here. Look at it again as we look at this. He changed his name to 3091. So in other words, this word did not exist until he threw Yah in front of it. Hosea was always 1954, and 3068 always been 3068. But he threw them together, 3068 and 1954, and you produces Yahushua. 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 And he shows you the spelling. If you have a J or if you put it into a Y. Some have H-U-A-H, and some use it the way we spell it, or a little longer. One letter difference. It's still the same. It's still kosher to say his name like this in Hebrew. This is his Shem. The characteristics of his Shem is he is Yah, or Yahuwah, kinsman deliverer. He's our kinsman deliverer. He saved us. He's our kinsman deliverer. Okay? So there's your 3091, how he was created, right there in front of our face in the scriptures. And we're using Christian, for you that are watching on the stream, I'm actually using the Christian Strong's Hebrew Greek Concordance instead of a Hebrew lexicon, because I just want to show you with your material that are watching by stream or DVD, by your own material, that how this shows it in our face when Christians go to, in the Christian community, go to theological schools, and they're not even snapping theos. Where did G-O-D come from? But yeah, they're going to school for the theoses to learn the deities, okay? The theoses, the multiple deities. But anyways, as we look at the material, you can see the distinct difference here. The kosher way, which you want to use the word kosher, to express and say his Shem, his name. Okay? Now we're going to look a little deeper. We're going to go to Dibri Ha-Yamin Aleph, which is First Chronicles, or the Chronicle Records. Okay? The Chronicle Records is a confirmation of information already in the Scriptures. That's what Chronicles is for. Okay? It's a confirmation of records. So we're going to go to the chronologies or the Chronicle Records, and we're going to look up First Chronicles, or for you in Hebrew, Dibri Ha-Yamin Aleph, chapter 7, verse 27. And for you the screen, okay, I'm going to it for you right now. I hope you can see it on the screen, because I don't know if it's working right. It's just recording and I can't see it. So we'll see if it works, okay? And then he says in verse 27, And it says, 26, Ladan his son, Amilud and his son, and Elishama his son, Nun his son, Yahushua his son. Okay, this is the chronology of Joshua or Yahushua or Hoshua. They re-record and recorded his name from Hosea, Hoshua, to Joshua or Yahushua. Okay? What number is it? 3091. They logged it in and documented it. This is the genealogy for him now. They wouldn't call him that name. Most Hebrews, it's not an American, European mindset, unless they're going to be in royalty or something. It is, when you get to a certain age, similar to Native Americans, that according to your characteristics of your name gets changed. Men and women. They get the character of their name as they mature and get older because the Ruach of Yahuwah has shaped their lives to walk in a new character. Because when we're born into sin, and we're born into characteristics of whatever our parents named us. You know, I had a friend that named him Hubcat. Poor guy. Call him Hubcat? I mean, you know, grow up your life, and yeah, you had to change his name later on. You know, who wants to be called Hubcat? You know what I mean? And so, but, and so, they had a company that made hubcaps, and so, you know, there it is. But hello. Excuse me. So you're seeing the same word, 3068, connected with 1954, Hoshua, but it's Yah. I want to make it very distinctly clear that the split of his name on record, what you see, is not Yahu and then Shua. No, it's Yah, then Hoshua. Hoshua. Not, because you take one letter or two letters, one letter out, or the O, the H and the O out of Hoshua, now you get Shua, and it's a completely different word. Okay? We have to keep it in the proper breakdown. His name was Hosea, and his name was changed to Joshua. His name was Hoshua, and his name was changed to Yahushua. And now, when you break it down in Hebrew, the Y-E-H is actually H. There'll be an E, then it'll be a smaller letter, way in a high point, with a little like pyramid on top, which is it's a high point sound frequency. So it'll be an A sound. Like some people say Elohim with an E, but you get to the root from 410, 330, and 430 and 433. It's really a high note, and it's Elohim. The E is really an A sound with that little syllable of expression of sound frequencies that you only get when you break it down into syllables. So as you see here, you notice that compared to the others, you see the high E here, but here they just spell it Y-E-H. So some people could say Yehushua, but they don't realize that's an A sound. That's for Yah, because he's telling you it's for Yahuwah, or Yahweh. Okay? Save. But it's not save. It is deliver. The form of salvation through deliverance of the kinsman redeemer. Because when you look up in 1954, it doesn't even say the word save. It means deliver. So I went in the depth to find out what that means. 1954 deliver is. It means kinsman redeemer like. Okay? He paid the debt for our penalty. All the debt and penalty of bondage in the physical realm and the spiritual realm alike. He took care of it for us. Okay? So let's go to 1 Chronicles now. Oh, we went to Chronicles. And let's go to Zechariah. And we're going to look at another version of it, Zechariah. And we're going to go to chapter 3. So give me time on the stream as I pull it up. Okay. Because I'm looking at it with the King Highness. Chapter 3, verse 1. And he says, and he showed me Joshua, the high priest, standing before the messenger of Yahuwah, and Shatan standing at his right hand to resist him. You notice it's 3091 again. As you look on the screen, it's 3091 again. Okay? Now, what's great about this description of this particular passage, because what we're going to do is we're going to look at this difference from what they call the Masoretic text and a regular Hebrew text that was like copied from a Paleo to the Hebrew that doesn't have the dots or the tittles. So we're going to look at Zechariah chapter 3. As you look at verse 3, now let me turn on in verse 3 now. And Yahushua was dressed in filthy garments and was standing before the messenger. And he answered and spoke to those who stood before him, verse 4, saying, remove the filthy garments from him. And to him he said, see, I have removed your guilt from you, and shall put costly robes on you. And verse 5, and I said, let them put a clean turban on his head. And then they put a clean turban on his head, and they put garments on him, and the messenger of Yahuwah stood by. And the messenger of Yahuwah witnessed Yahushua, saying, he witnessed him, saying, thus says Yahuwah of hosts, if you walk in my ways, and if you guard my duty, then you shall also rule my house, and also guard my courts, and I shall give you access among these standing here. Now listen, Yahushua, the high priest, and your companions, who sit before you, for they are men of symbol. For look, I am bringing forth my servant, the branch. Okay, he's predicting you. He's speaking about the grafting in. I'm bringing my servant, the branch. And the priest, the name of the priest's son, Yahushua, everything is a symbol of the future. It says it right here. We can't add or take away. Now listen, Yahushua, the high priest who you are, and your companions, who sit before you, for they are men of symbol. For look, I am bringing forth my servant, the branch. All right.